Hi y'all, this is Karen. I'm the lead instructor for the Colorado Mountain Club's Youth Education Program, and today I'm going to teach you 3 basic knots that you would need for mountaineering or climbing. So if you've ever been climbing before, you might be familiar or at least have seen some of these knots. And if you're excited to go climbing sometime in the future and want to practice some skills at home, these are 3 great knots to get started with. The first knot I'm going to teach you is called the figure 8 follow through. And this knot is used to tie yourself in to a rope when you're climbing with a harness. So that's a super important knot. That's one of the first ones you would learn when you start climbing. The next knot I'm going to teach you is called the stopper knot, and that's used to create a big knot in the end of the rope so that it doesn't slide through things, keeps you nice and safe. And then the last knot I'm going to teach you is called the Clove Hitch, and this is a really cool knot because it's adjustable, so you can move it once you've tied it, and that's typically used to anchor yourself into a point really easily, and then you can adjust it once you've tied it. So it's a super helpful knot for rock climbing and mountaineering. So let's get started. To teach you these knots, I'm going to be using a rope like this that's actually used for climbing. But all you need to follow along with me and practice these knots at home is any sort of rope. It could be even as small as a shoelace. And I'll demonstrate what these knots will look like if you're using a smaller piece of rope or a shoelace to tie these knots. Alright, so the first knot we're going to learn is called the figure 8 follow through knot. This is the knot that you would use to tie in. If you're climbing with a harness, you need to tie yourself into the rope. So to start this knot, you want about 3 feet of rope. So I'm going to pull my rope out a little bit to the side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a pinch of rope just like this, just squeezing these 2 bits of the rope together. Once I have that, I'm going to pick it up, take my long end of the rope that I've got right over here. I'm going to wrap this around that little pinch of rope that I just made. And then I'm going to poke it right through here, and then I'll pull that rope through. And what I'm going to end up with is something that looks like a number 8, just like this. So this is the first part of the figure 8 follow through knot. And if you were using this to tie yourself into your harness, you would use this end to tie into your harness. So I'm going to demonstrate this just using a carabiner that I have right here. So if this was your harness, you would pull that rope up and towards you till you had your knot just like this. What we need to do to finish our knot and make us secure is to follow through these strands of rope so each of them has a buddy. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start with my end right over here. I'm going to start at the bottom of my knot. I want to poke through the same place that my knot has started, and I'm going to start pulling my rope through, making sure that each bit of rope has a buddy. I've got buddy, I've got my buddy right here. I'm going to loop around and poke right here, pull that rope through so it keeps it nice and clean. Last bit, I'm going to loop around here, and then I'm going to poke out the end. Looks a little bit messy, but once I pull it to tighten it, we call that dressing the knot. I'm going to end up with a nice knot just like this that looks like a nice number 8. Anytime you tie a knot, you want to make sure that you check it so that you know that you tied it correctly. So to check your figure 8 follow through knot, you want to make sure that you have 10 strands of rope in your knot. So to check that, we'll start here at the bottom. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 10. So once I've checked, I know that I have 10 strands of rope in my knot. I know that my figure 8 follow through knot is good to go. If you're tying this knot using a shoelace, this is what your figure 8 follow through knot might look like. So you would just follow that through using a little loop to simulate where you would have your carabiner or your harness. Alright, the next knot we're going to learn is called the stopper knot. This is a knot that we would use at the end part of our rope to make sure it's secure, make sure that it doesn't slide through anything when we're climbing or mountaineering. So to make my stopper knot, I want it to be near the end of my rope, but I need some room to make my knot. So I'm going to pull about 1 foot or 1.5 feet of rope, and I'm going to make a same kind of pinch of rope just like I did when I started my figure 8 follow through knot. From there, I'm going to take my rope with the end point, and I'm going to start wrapping that around my other side of the rope. I want to make 3 loops here, about 3.5. I got 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to loop through again about halfway. From there, I want to slide up next to the rope that my loops are through, and then I'm going to pull it to tighten my knot. Again, dressing my knot, making sure I can see all the bits of it that's nice and tight. Just like that, I've got my stopper knot. So with our stopper knot, we want to see this nice clean movement. It's a nice and smooth knot. We've got our 3 strands of rope. You can make your stopper knot with more loops if you'd like, but 3 is pretty standard. That's typically what you'd use to make a knot at the end of the rope. If you're making your stopper knot at home with a shoelace, your stopper knot will look something like this. If you are practicing this knot with a shoelace, just be careful not to tie it super duper tight, or else it could be kind of difficult to undo. Again, just like with the stopper knot that I've created, I've got these nice 3 strands of rope right near the end of my rope. The stopper knot looks beautiful. And so the last knot that we're going to learn is called the Clove Hitch. This is an awesome adjustable knot that you can use to anchor yourself into an area really quickly when you're out rock climbing. So to make a clove hitch, what you need is a good amount of rope. You can make this anywhere in your rope, so you can make it in the middle of your rope, near the end, wherever works for you. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a loop over with your right hand. So you've got 1 loop in the rope, just like this. I like to call it like a little bunny ear. Then I'm going to move a little bit down my rope. I'm going to make another loop in the same direction. So I'm going to loop over the right side of the rope over the left. So I'm going to have these 2 bunny ears just like this. Once I've got my 2 bunny ears, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the left bunny ear and I'm going to loop it over the right so that they make 1 loop right here in the middle. Once I've got that loop, I can hook it on to something like a carabiner, which I'll show you right here. And then I can tighten my clove hitch. So the cool thing about this knot is that once you've got it nice and tight, I can put all my weight on one strand and it won't move, or all my weight on the other strand and my knot won't move. So it's nice and secure. But if I want to adjust my knot and give one side a little bit more space, I can feed some slack through and then pull it through with the other side. Pull my knot nice and tight, and again, it won't move when I pull on one side or on the other side. But I've just adjusted my knot so I have a lot more room on this side than I did originally. So again, the clove hitch is a super great knot to know because it's nice and adjustable. So if you're practicing this clove hitch knot at home, you've got your clove hitch like this. You've got your 2 bunny ears. You can practice putting this over something like a stick. So I'll demonstrate with this. I've got a stick. I'm going to loop my clove hitch through a little bit. I'm just going to practice adjusting it and tightening it. So once I've got my clove hitch onto my stick, I can practice tightening it, seeing that it's tight on one side and the other. And I can practice loosening it, putting a little more slack into one side, seeing how easily that moves through, tightening it up again, and seeing that I've got a nice secure knot. Thanks so much for following along and making some knots with me today. Don't be discouraged if it takes you a little bit to get these knots figured out. They can be a little bit challenging, and that's why practicing them a lot is a super good thing to do. So take your time, put some practice in, because you never know when you might have a chance to go rock climbing and put these knots to use. Enjoy and have a good day.